Hi Hydrographs, hope you're doing well. You should have watched the two videos I uploaded, one regarding the river grading and the other regarding hydrographs, so basically a storm graph. So I just want to quickly recap on those two things and make sure you understand the basics of it. Then when we get back in class, we're going to take a few questions from past papers and just work through them so you can actually practice them. River grading is really easy. The main thing is this. When we talk about river grading, a graded river is basically a longitudinal profile that is smooth. Okay, so there's a start of a river and there's a end of a river. Okay, so as you can see from the start, from right there to the end, it's basically a smooth concave form. Okay, so this is the side view of a river, basically from the start to the end, and it's relatively smooth. That is a graded profile. So what will an ungraded profile look like? Let me show you. Ungraded will look like this. So again, we have our axis. Now we have a river the start, and there's a dip like that. So if you focus on that area right there, that we call a nick point. So nick point is basically any change in the gradient of a river. Okay, so any change in gradient. So what could that possibly be? That is most likely something like a waterfall. It could be rapids as well, but most likely if I look at this example, that would be a waterfall. A dam is another example of what a nick point could be in a river. So when you see a feature like this, you know it is ungraded. They will ask you, is this river graded? Is it not graded? Give a reason for your answer. This one, not graded. There's a nick point clearly, and you can indicate the nick point. So what's going to happen to this area that's circled now? Because there's a change in gradient, there's going to be more erosion, and more erosion over a very long time is going to flatten this out, and it will become a graded profile. But that will take a very long time, and erosion is the process that basically causes that. So any river goes from ungraded to graded. Okay. On a map, if you get a river, in other words, not a longitudinal profile like you see in the picture, but on a map, how do you know if a river is graded or ungraded? Because you don't have a side view like this. You basically go through the river from where they say you must start to end, and you look for any nick point. So you look for waterfalls, you look for rapids, you look for a dam. That is the most likely one you will see on a map. Okay, a waterfall, usually you'll see a name there like the Hydrographs waterfall, then you know there's a waterfall there. So if you see any of those ones, you know that this is a ungraded profile. Okay, this brings me to the next one. So a storm hydrograph. This is usually quite a long question, but I'm quickly just going to go through it. So here again, you'll have your graph. I'm going to make it a very simple one. At the bottom, you know, you're going to have these blocks, and that will indicate to you the rainfall. Okay, so if we look, this one here is when our rainfall peaked. That's when most rainfall took place. Okay, so next you will basically see this. Okay, that one basically measures the amount of water that flows in a river at a certain point. Okay, so if you can look at these 2 points here, there's basically the start. We can basically, right there, so if I can just highlight this quickly. Okay, so there is the peak. Okay, so now the difference is if it rained the most this time, right there, why did a peak only in the river took place there? And the answer for that is, we call this, by the way, the difference in time between that and that is a lag time. Okay, so you have to remember that when it rains in an area, all of that water still has to flow down towards the river, and that is the lag time you see there. It takes time to flow down to the river before the water actually gets into a river, and that peak can take place. So now the next question we'll ask you is, we'll give you two hydrographs. One will look like this, and one will look like, I'm going to do here one at the top, a small one, to show you. Okay. So there's my rainfall again. Okay, so very similar to this one, but now the difference is in the discharge of a river. This one will be, let's make it much closer. Do you see that the peak in this one is much closer to the previous one? Okay, so what's the difference? Why is there a difference? Our bottom one is most likely natural vegetation. So when the water flows over this, there's a lot of trees, there's soil, so the water will seep into the soil. So it will be slow process towards the river. But in our top one, that is most likely an urban area, built up area like a city. So now you have all of this artificial surfaces, like tar, and a built up area. So water, as you all know, flows very quickly over these surfaces because there's nothing that's keeping it behind, basically. And as a result, it will flow very quickly towards the river. So that's the other question they will ask you. Why is there a difference in the lag time between these two hydrographs? And your answer will be that your bottom one is most likely natural vegetation, a rural area. Your top one is an urban area where there's a lot of artificial surfaces that the water flows quickly over. Okay, and no water will seep into the soil as well. Okay, and that's basically the lesson for today. Hope you have a good day. Cheers, guys.